Andrew, you'll know him as Green and Pleasant Land. So please give him a warm welcome as he joins us here to deliver the third and final part of his Preparing for 2021 series. Over to you, fellas.
Yay! That was my attempt of being Joe. It didn't work very well, did it?
Right, hello everyone. So, yep, this is the third and final part. So, the first part we covered food shortages, and that has continued to go downhill in terms of the threat.
It's getting worse.
It's getting
worse and worse. Did you see the 100,000 birds who were slaughtered in Hungary the other day?
No, I didn't. But
this list of people who are getting I was about to say this list of people who are getting killed off. That's the wrong way to go about that.
Not yet.
No, the Clinton list hasn't grown for a while. But no, the list of poultry that have been put to death for no apparent reason just keeps getting longer and longer and longer.
Oh, it's
really quite remarkable. We timed that stream poorly. We should have done it the other way around. That should have been the final one, because then we could have stood there and say, look at this, for the last 3 weeks. This has been happening. We should do a follow-up stream to that in a couple of weeks' time, maybe.
But we're all starving.
Yeah, basically, we should just do it to be like, hey, look, we're this is what we've got. We were right. Told you so.
Well, so that was the first one. The second one was cyber COVID, talking about the possibility of a great big virus going around and bricking everyone's devices, maybe shutting off power. Again, we don't know if that's likely to happen. Whereas the food shortages, we know we could be pretty safely say that it probably is. And now we're on to the last one, which is financial threats. So before we get started, disclaimer: this stream and the following the article that accompanies it, if you can post that, it's no view of the threats that I see we're going to face. Clicked on mute for some reason.
Oh God, I thought it was me. I was sitting here in silence thinking, do I say something?
You were hovering over it, and I think I just accidentally tapped the touchpad and silence.
It's okay, I've been known to do that as well.
Just got to keep you all on your toes. So yeah, just an overview of some of the threats that I see we're facing in terms of finance, and getting some ideas, putting some ideas out there, just so you can start to get thinking about them. So they're not to be taken as financial advice. Always do your research and assess your own attitude to risk before you put your money anywhere. It's common sense, really. So without further ado,
done it again. So I'm going to block the mute button on your end, I think.
What just happened?
You muted yourself.
I am muting myself.
I don't know what happened then.
I think the stream's cut out. Because
the stream's still there, but you disappeared.
Yeah.
Very odd.
I'm still on.
How's Linux Mint treating you?
So we're live?
Yeah, everything is fine.
It's just everything else seems to have disappeared.
Quick.
It's definitely still there, so don't be revealing any private information.
So one's in chat if you can still hear me.
David Mark said the stream is fine.
That's good. Right, well, that's very odd. Right then, well, I'll continue. So yeah, all the COVID-19 restrictions, all these lockdowns, as we all know, the economy's just taken absolute hammering, and thousands of companies have gone under. I think, John, I remember from the previous streams, you were looking at the Gazette website. Indeed. And just looking at reams upon reams of companies that have just gone under.
I've given up. I haven't done it in a long while, but we was averaging between 80 and 120 a day. That was just going to administration. And for people who don't know, you actually have to pay you to go into administration, which is always a weird thing. The company's going bust, so we're going to pay you to go bust. But yeah, you actually have to pay for that. So there are going to be, I would say, more companies out there going bust out on average who can't afford to pay that than there are companies who can. Even if it isn't, even if it's, let's say half again, they're still averaging between 100 and 140 odd companies a day going bust. That's a lot of jobs out the window.
Yeah, it's just terrible.
It is, but you'll be glad to know that apparently everything is fine. The furlough scheme doesn't need to be extended because job postings are up 91%. I would say to Rishi Sunak that job postings going up 91% doesn't really matter if they was at zero anyway. I know in my local area, the jobs, especially over Christmas, basically just dried up. There was about 15 jobs around me for a while.
Well, there's all the uncertainty. You can't take anybody on.
Exactly.
All the money that's going to be going into that.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter if it's up 91%, if it's at such a low level that 91% is basically only a couple of thousand more. It's irrelevant. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Well, the government's increased borrowing and the debt has now hit over 2.1 trillion since I wrote this. I think that was about, back end of December when I started this this month. So that's just going to go up. I think we all know that. So this is a perfect excuse to further increase taxes and even pillage people's bank accounts. We've had there were some articles such as creating a tax for people over the age of 40 to try and pay for some of this that were in it. Was something that Rishi Sunak said. He mentioned something about people have been saving up lots of money during this time, and we can't wait till we go and spend it. Now, everyone reacted to the first part of it, saying, no, I'm struggling, we're not saving up all this money. What caught my eye was the second part. He said something up to the words of, and I can't wait till we go and spend it, which would be odd, a bit worrying. So
that's exactly what they said in Toronto.
Yeah, that's the other one.
Do you actually have that pulled up? I didn't read that.
No, I didn't.
No, fair enough. Good. No spoilers then. But out in Toronto, I don't remember if it was the Toronto mayor or somebody else. They basically said that we have a built-in $1 billion bailout. And then when he was questioned on it, it was people's savings because they're planning on introducing negative interest rates, which is saying that Joe is quite interested in.
Yeah. And there's already precedent for locking people's banks, so restricting the amount that they can withdraw. That happened in Cyprus a few years ago.
And in Greece. And in Portugal as well, I believe. But certainly in Cyprus and Greece.
Hillman.
You can't go wrong with strain.
So, the national debt, alongside the employment problems caused by all these redundancies and business closures, have created an environment to bring around the whole World Economic Forum's Great Reset, which would you like to just touch on briefly?
Oh, the reset. the good old, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. These people, I haven't actually gone on to their Twitter feed recently, but I'd imagine they've got some gems on there since that, or since the beginning of the year anyway. They do love making very expensive videos.
Yeah, I mean, with the World Economic Forum's Great Reset in terms of the finance, it's, from my understanding of what they want to do, they want to get everyone dependent on large corporations, which we already know, go along with the government and other international bodies, and a universal basic income, so at a subsistence level, let's say 10 grand a year, and then have a social credit score tied into all of this. So let's say
which will be incredibly easy to implement, especially once they get rid of cash, which is something they're desperate to do. And now they're going to be able to push it under the guise of, oh, it's clean, you don't have to touch it, there's no coronavirus on it.
Yeah. So that's just a very brief overview of that. So there's two areas that needs to be considered when talking about reducing the impact of the financial threats upon us. The first one is secure our livelihood. So that way we can ensure that we always have an income, and to start reduce our dependence upon the government and the big corporations, as I've said. The second is to store any savings in a form that won't be subject to inflation or this bank account pillaging, but in such a way that it can be accessed at a later date. To whom exactly is it? Can you hear me, John?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to answer the question.
No. To whom exactly is the national debt actually owing? Please do they state that? No, I think that's something we might have to do a little bit of research on. But
I think that's something people can do in their own time.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who owns it is the bankers.
Yeah, I mean, I know China's been throwing money around like no tomorrow, buying people's debt. I mean, if you buy people's debt, you basically control them, because you can always you've always got that threat of pulling in that debt.
I have found, for anyone who's interested in national debt, I posted this link earlier on, the debt clock. I never really thought of looking up whether we have a debt clock or not, but apparently we do. Who knows? Our debt is growing at a rate of £5,170 per second. The debt per citizen is basically 40,000 quid. And the debt per taxpayer is about 68,000 quid.
Well, what I've heard is that if all the money, all the currency, to be precise, in the world was all collected up and used to pay off the world's debt, there would still be debt remaining. There's not enough currency in the world to pay off the debt.
Yeah, there's just too much.
Well, it's not. It goes beyond unsustainable. It's just insane. So there definitely needs to be a, in quotation marks, a great reset. Just not a great reset that these cretins will profit from and gain power from.
Must be lovely to sit there and just lend money out that you don't actually own. Anyway, moving on.
Right. So, so secure our livelihood is the first area. So the priority is to ensure that we'll be financially self-sufficient going forward, and so that way we can minimise the effects of coercion, both from the government but also large corporations. And as I've said before, the World Economic Forum wants us to be dependent on these. We can easily control us. So the first thing is obviously self-employment. This is something that Joe and Jordan have been doing a lot of good work on, talking about. It's actually the first stream of theirs I actually came across with the income opportunities number 2, and that got me hooked.
I'm glad to hear it.
So I think any form of side business, at least at the start, is fantastic to get a bit of income. I mean, it has the opportunity, it has the potential to grow into a full-time business.
It makes you very difficult to control. That's the main thing about it. Because take the that plumbing company in London, what were they called? Pimlico Plumbers or whatever it was.
Yeah, that guy with the hair.
Yeah, he did have a bit of a late 90s haircut, didn't he?
Channeling his inner Boris.
Yeah, that The Rod Stewart lookalike. I like that one. But he basically tried to say, if you want to keep working for him, you're going to have the vaccine. If all of his plumbers turned around and said, no, we're not having this, and they all had their own side business, that wouldn't, he'd have no pull over them. He wouldn't be able to tell them, right, you're out, because what do they care? They've already got their own little side business up and going. Maybe in plumbing, it may be in something else, but they've already got a backup. Even if it isn't much at the moment, it's certainly well worth getting into things. That way, if the going gets tough, you at least have an option, and you have something that's kind of simmering on the boil.
Yeah, and it also makes us as a community stronger as well.
Absolutely.
Which I'll go into a little bit at the end. So, to give you some ideas, we've got Joe and Jordan's Income Opportunities PDF. So if you can post that one, and the cottage industry overviews. So with the cottage industry overviews, they're designed to allow you to try things out as a hobby, just to see if you actually like them. So you're not committed to a lot. If you do like them, then there is a scope for it to be turned into an income. So this could be a little side business. I mean, let's say you make, I don't know, you make wallets. You get quite good at that. Try and sell some. Maybe somebody likes them. Maybe you start to sell a few more. Potentially build it into a business. I've been sort of focusing on the food aspects at the moment in terms of the overviews. Once I've got that finished, then I'm going to go back onto the crafting.
Before we get off the subject of this, if anybody has a skill or anything along those lines and they think they can contribute, please do. Create your own industry overview, post it on the forum. If you're up for it, come on and we can talk about it as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. that'll be very helpful.
It would be. So yeah. If you're into something, give it a go. Make a little post about it. Tell people how to do it, and let us know. We need to be more productive as a community.
And if you want any help or any advice, or, in regards to doing that, I'm always available to do it. Anything that'll get more of these overviews done, I am happy to help. Right, so we ready to move on?
Yes, please.
So the second part of this, the final part of this secure our livelihood is land. Owning your own land or property will give you security from the risk associated with the renting and mortgages. And it'll also give you freedom to do things such as raising your animals, having your own gardens, grow rooms, creating your own workshop. I mean, there's tons of things you can do if you've got big enough land. And that's going to really come in handy when it comes to this, when it comes to the future. Also, there's a scope to creating your own communities as well. So living near like-minded people. I mean, this is vital, especially going forward.
Yeah, because land alone won't save you. If you're perched up in, let's say you have 100 acres of land, you have a ton of land, wonderful stuff. If you're the only person on that 100 acres, it really doesn't matter. If they want to come along and vaccinate you, or if they want to come along and kill your chickens, which they can now legally do in this country, you're in a bit of bother because you're on your own. You're isolated. You need the community to keep you safe.
Yeah, it's communities are everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to
post the link to that. Sorry, I'm going to find the link to the DEFRA thing, which they can murder your chickens. One second.
Have you found that?
I know where it is. I haven't actually read through it properly yet, but I know where it is. And the Ice Age Farmers definitely covered this.
Yeah, I remember that terrifying video. But yeah, I mean, think about it like with the current lockdowns. Imagine you've got hairdressers, for example. At the moment, they try and stay up. They're just going to have police come and shut them down. But imagine you've got that same hairdressers. Imagine that they decide to stay open. They don't. If police come, and all the local residents, men, women, they all come out and just stand in front of them and say, we kind of like this this hairdressers. We want them to stay open. You're not shutting it down. What are police going to do? Well, they especially if you're filming it, no need to throw Molotov cocktails or anything ridiculous. Just stand there and say, yeah, we're not moving. Eventually they're going to go. Are they going to come back? Maybe not. Do that enough times, they just not got the resources.
A Guardian article where they mention like killing birds. I will, but people can get the general sort of gist of what Death was up to.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're back.
What did you say?
You cut off for a second.
Did I?
Yeah, you cut off for a second. That's why I'd wing over it with the Guardian article.
No, I don't think I cut off. I think I just stopped talking. The sentence ended.
No, maybe so. I cut off on mine.
The wonders of tech.
Isn't it just? It's just perfect. There's never any issues with it.
So the limiting factor with buying houses and land is the cost. It's just ridiculous, especially in some places. So it's just quickly becoming unobtainable. However, hope has been given by the Woodlanders YouTube channel. So and he talks about different methods of buying some land and building your own house at a much more affordable cost. So as I said, yeah, that gives us a bit of hope. So something to look into. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Not that for the moment.
No. Right, I'll... yeah, I agree, 42. Right, well, the second part, protecting savings.
Well, I do have something to say. I needed to work the turkey through, and I've also my phone's going freaking crazy for some reason. If we don't come together as a community, we're just going to get screwed over. There really is no doubt about this. Going out and just buying a plot of land somewhere isn't going to do it. And I would strongly suggest people who are thinking along those lines think otherwise. It doesn't really matter which country you're in. This is particularly prominent amongst Americans, thinking that they're just going to go pop up somewhere in the mountains and all is good.
Yeah, that's happened before. I think it's Ruby Ridge. Yeah, that didn't end well.
Well, exactly. They actually have a lot of precedent for this. You've also got Wounded Knee, where the same sort of thing happened. Like, the Americans, especially, who keep going down this line, really need to think twice about it. Look back at history. Look what has happened. It's not ended well. Perching up in the middle of nowhere, it sounds wonderful, and in many ways it is. But you need to be perching up there with a community, a group of people.
Yeah. I mean,
it needs to be a bit more than yourself and your extended family.
Yeah, you're not John Rambo.
To be fair, that would be pretty cool if you were.
And you've got to sleep sometime,
Yeah,
so it's...
exactly. You can't be on guard 24/7. If nothing else, the stress alone will kill you.
Yeah. All right, so with protecting savings, so saving up cash in a bank has been a terrible idea for ages.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah, especially, and it just, the bigger the sum, the worse it's going to be, just because of the inflation, really. It just destroys the buying power of your currency.
Absolutely.
So
value halves about every 22 years, I think.
Yeah, and it meant to be about 6% a year. I've heard that before.
They like to try and keep it around about 2. I think at the moment it's around about 1.5-ish. Why they like to keep it at 2 is beyond anyone with brain cells understandings. They claim it's because it helps people go out and spend money, incentivizes them to go and spend money.
Well, it incentivizes people to borrow.
Yeah.
Know,
But that's all they want, though, isn't it? They want you in debt.
Oh yeah, because then debt, bonds, bondage. You're basically a slave.
Yeah, exactly. Because they can do whatever the hell they want at that stage. You don't own your home, you don't own your car, you don't own your TV, you don't own your fridge, you don't own anything.
And
if they decide to call the debt in, what the hell do you have in your home? Nothing.
Mm. Yeah, so there's that, but there's also this the threat of the government just taking money to pay for the COVID restrictions that they put in.
There's that as well. If you do have savings, they can easily just say, nope, negative interest. We're going to start taking your money and we're going to limit you to 100 quid withdrawals every week or every day or whatever.
Yeah. It's
Hillman has something interesting. Eh? Oh, just put it on screen. Thank you for that, love. Last year, they printed 1/3 of the money that was already in circulation. I know they've printed off an inordinate amount in the US. I didn't realise that was here as well. Although it does make sense.
Well, a very good YouTube series that I think I mentioned on the previous stream is The Hidden Secrets of Money. That is mandatory watching, quite frankly. It really is.
So I can pop it in chat.
I think the first 5 were the ones that I watched originally, and then they've done a load more since then. But it's been around since about 2013.
What's it called again?
Hidden Secrets of Money. It's Mike Maloney. I think the channel was Gold and Silver something.
Yeah, yep. Gold Silver with Mike Maloney. Just going to grab the link to his channel and pop that in chat. Here we go.
Right, you ready to move on?
I am indeed.
Right, so how we're going to solve this, how we're going to protect ourselves from it. Well, one option is gold. So it's historically gold has been used as a means of exchange, basically money, and it's a store of wealth, which is why it is money. The difference between currency and money, they're basically exactly the same, except money is a store of value. So yeah, that's covered in that fantastic series. So the main uses for gold are jewelry making, which uses up about 50% of it. Another 40% is physical gold investments. So you're looking at gold coins, gold bars. And the remaining about 10% is used for things like dentistry and heat shielding and various other things. So
I'm surprised such a large amount of it has industrial usage.
What, 10%?
Yeah, I expected it to be much smaller than that. That's actually bloody surprising. Yeah, fair enough.
Well, when it comes to buying physical gold, it's worth remembering that the gold bullion, so the bars and coins, are VAT-free in the UK. However, if you buy gold sovereigns and Britannia coins, they're also capital gains tax exempt due to them being classed as legal tender.
And that means you'll also be able to buy them at the face value, correct?
Well, they'll be, because they're VAT-free, you won't be paying I think it's 20% on top of them.
Mm-hmm. No. But what I meant is the gold sovereigns, if I remember rightly, aren't they 50 quid?
Pardon?
Are gold sovereigns worth 50 quid face value?
Gold sovereigns. I don't know to be honest. I didn't look at that. I was thinking more in terms of the gold value, just storing it, rather than trying to go to your local corner shop and buying a packet of crisps for one.
But I mean, apparently I was wrong. Gold sovereign coins have a face value of 1 quid. However, the real value is many times higher.
Oh yeah, the original pound. I think I might have come across that before. Right, you ready to move on to silver?
I am indeed.
So, silver, just like gold, used as a means of exchange, but it has a lot more industrial uses, which means that the price of silver is affected by industrial demand. The price of silver is more volatile than gold, and therefore it's considered more of a speculative investment rather than just like gold where you can just store it. So physical silver is subject to VAT. However, buying silver Britannia coins, they're also capital gains tax exempt for the same reason as the gold ones, because they're classed as legal tender.
David says the sovereign is worth 336 quid, by the way.
All right.
Which would you recommend?
In what?
Gold or silver?
Oh, I'm not a financial advisor, so you've got to do your own research here.
Sly. Kind of makes sense to get the silver, I would say.
Well,
but, you know, as Andrew just said, not financial advisors, people can look into that themselves.
Well, there's swings and roundabouts for everything. I mean, I am going to go into a bit more, so I might leave it a little bit to the end of this this stream and bring it up again. What was that we'll put on? Yeah, you've read my mind. Yeah, that's what I'm going to bring up.
This is kind of one of the issues that cryptocurrency has, which I know you're about to get into in a moment. But the size of a Bitcoin is just unnatural. Like, you go to buy something with it, and it says something along the lines of it's worth 0.00001 Bitcoin. So like, the human mind is not designed to understand that. That doesn't mean anything. There's nothing tangible about it. I would imagine it's much the same with gold. Like, if you had a massive gold bar and you needed to scrape off a corner, it would be like, is that enough?
Yeah.
A little scraping of gold isn't worth anywhere near as much to the average person just looking at it as a coin. A coin is like, okay, I understand what that means.
Yeah, a little scrap in your hand.
Yeah. Tiny little flake of gold versus a little bit of dirty gold, I suppose. It just makes more sense that way.
Rolex watch and investment. I'm not going to say anything for definite, as I say. I'm not. I'm not.
I would say it is, because an investment, by definition, is just saying you expect to either retain or increase in value.
What I would say, from my knowledge of, I did, from my understanding, Rolex is a bit of a blue chip, considered a blue chip sort of watch, where it's almost always, it's going to go up over time gradually, but it's not going to shoot up and down. That's my understanding. Again, do your own research. Whereas some of the companies, there might be a bit more volatility. A bit like with books, you buy a Charles Dickens, a first edition, it's just going to be nice and stable. It's not going to shoot up, probably not going to shoot down. Whereas it's going to hold its value more. Whereas a first edition of something that's just come out, you know, you might lose on it. It might not do anything, or it might shoot up like 50 Shades of Grey and become very popular. But again, after stress, do your own research.
Safety Sally. It's interesting from Birdie. The British currency, the pound, comes from weight, a pound, in silver, sterling silver, which became the pound sterling.
Yeah, what Will said on Free Game.
Will has looked into watches. A Rolex or other top watch is a store of value.
Yeah, I love watches.
My bloody mouse is in the way. There you go. But it's
Mechanical
not a good investment if you want to make a lot.
But you go anywhere in the world and you go to you take a Rolex to a jeweler's, you're going to be able to shift it.
Oh, absolutely.
If it's in decent nick and it works, you know, you'll be able to sell it.
Exactly. This is why when people look back at history and they see like the Vikings and they got their armbands on and things like that, that was money. Even though it was jewelry, they did also treat it as money. If they needed to buy something that was expensive, they took it off and they traded that over. It's why things like jewels and what have you have always been very expensive, always been very worthwhile. It's why jewelry is taken off in the way that it had.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you into watches at all? Mechanical ones?
Not really, no.
No.
I do enjoy pocket watches. I think they're cool.
Well, there's some absolutely stunning craftsmanship with them.
Oh, absolutely. They're amazing. I do have a real soft spot for the watches that are see-through.
Oh, the skeleton ones.
Yeah, I think they're awesome. To actually be able to see what's going on inside the watch is pretty damn special.
I love the ones with the gyro tourbillon. They're just absolutely stunning when they're going around, but you'll be paying for it.
One second, I'm just bringing up a picture of them. There is some serious craftsmanship that's going on in this. Can you imagine how painstaking it must have been back in the day making those tiny little cogs?
Well, I've had a go at trying to repair and the pocket watches, and that is very, very hard.
Was it successful? Or is it still sitting on the healing bench?
No, some of them ticked afterwards.
Did they tick an appropriate amount of time?
The problem that I found was you need one of the basic things you can do is to change the mainspring. You know, the actual power of it. Mm-hmm. Well, to get a set of mainspring winders, bear in mind we're talking about basic tools here. Mm-hmm. It's like 500 quid.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I mean, the second-hand ones they're not much cheaper.
What's special about them?
Nothing. It's like, if you imagine, well, you can probably type it in. It's basically a pen with a twisty thing, and then you get various attachments that you plug it onto the other side, and that's where the actual mainspring goes in. You wind it round, so it compresses it, and then you put it into the barrel, which is where the mainspring is, and you just pop it out.
So do you actually get a spring, or do you have to make the spring yourself?
Oh no, you buy mainsprings from companies. Cousins is a very good website for that sort of stuff, for tools and parts.
There they are, actually. Right, so what you do is you just put that on, you spin it round, and then you just put the watch in, and it goes in.
That's a bit more of a machine one. See if you can get something a bit like that.
A bit more like that, you mean?
But that looks like a clock one. Yeah. If you put pocket watch mainspring winder. Yeah, like
that one there, the one on Etsy.
That I was thinking more that. Okay, is it Banggood hand?
Oh, that one.
Yeah, the one with a dodgy name.
It is a little bit, isn't it?
It's a bit like, yeah. They haven't. Oh, that's actually a better one in the box.
Oh, in the box. Back we go. Don't mind us, lads.
They're normally, the ones I've seen, they're always in a nice wooden box. That one. Oh, you're all over the place here.
My brain works faster than the computer. It's not my fault.
Down and to the right from the picture you've got. That one, yeah. See that one? Yeah, it's a bit like that. Looks like it.
Doing watches always scares the hell out of me. Just the idea of it, because I know that there's going to be loads of little bloody springs and cogs and all that sort of nonsense in there.
Well, the trick is to know where all the wheels are and where they go. because they go in a specific order.
Oh no, that's even worse.
But once you get into complications, then the level of complexity goes up. Things like a date wheel, and I mean that's not that's quite a simple one compared to some. But like if you've got something like if you've got a gyro tourbillon or just even a normal tourbillon and you're getting that serviced, yeah, if I remember rightly, you're looking at a few grand just to get it serviced.
So we found our community watchmaker. We're safe, chat. We're always going to be able to tell the time at least. I did see somebody. There you go. It's Cockney Nutjob. He still has his granddad's World War I watch.
Nice.
Very. I think the oldest pocket watch I have is 1897, I think.
Oh, yeah. Do you know anything about it?
No, unfortunately not. It's just very nice. That's it. Well, it's very nice by my standards, anyway. Somebody who's actually into watches will probably look at it and think, it's bog standard. Anyway, we were going somewhere. We got distracted by pretty things.
Oh, what did Will say? All right, are we continuing?
Indeed, we are.
I can just talk about watches forever. So, right. So, cryptocurrencies is the final one. So, they're a new technology which really started in 2009 with the first cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. Alternate cryptocurrencies using the Bitcoin source code started to be created in 2011, and they were intended to improve upon certain aspects of Bitcoin. So, because of how new they are, we don't really have an idea of what will happen to them in the long term. In terms of their adoption, value, regulations, and usage. But they do have the potential to be revolutionary. So that's something cryptocurrencies are one of those areas where I know very little about, but
same here.
But it's something I'm definitely going to do some research into.
The thing that I dislike about them the most is the fact that they're just not user friendly in terms of how you look at the number. I said it a little bit earlier on. You go to buy something like a TV, and you're used to seeing these things with a price tag like £400 or £500 or whatever, and then you look at their price tags in Bitcoins, and it's 0.000 whatever. It just doesn't flow. It doesn't sit. There's no scale to it, or none that I can understand it anyway. And I would imagine one that a lot of people can't understand.
Yeah. Well, from what I understood from a lot of the articles, Bitcoin is probably not going to be the main cryptocurrency because there's a lot of things that hold them back. I think one of them was the transactions, the speed of the transactions.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've got a speed of 7 transactions a second, whereas the normal systems that we use now do hundreds. So we're obviously going to slow things down, especially in terms of adoption. But maybe other types of cryptocurrencies can solve that.
I would love to chime in as if I know or understand if they'd be able to. Theoretically, they should, right? The people behind them are intelligent people. They know what they're doing. They're just going to create a new currency and a new currency and a new currency until eventually they find one that everybody's happy with, and that will be the one that takes off. And then odds are saying that Bitcoin will just kind of remain relevant. Joe has just posted carrots. Is Joe okay? Does she want some carrots, maybe? She wants some carrot juice. Or is she been bought off by Big Carrot?
So yeah, I'd just like to mention that vaccine passes of some description keep coming up. They keep propping up. Now, I can't help feeling that it's not going to be something that's going to be pushed by the government or brought in by the government. Maybe in a limited capacity for people on the front line, frontline care staff, hospitals, etc. Perhaps there. But I can't imagine, I can't see, police and army going around grabbing people and, forcing them to have the vaccine.
Yeah, I agree.
But I reckon it's probably going to be like most of the things, like the censorship. It's going to come through with the large corporations doing it. So that means that we'll need to have our own means of exchange, especially if we're going to end up with a cashless society. And maybe even the banks getting bank accounts getting shut down. Who knows? So we'll need a means of exchange, which will probably will be what I've already put out, some combination of gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies, with things like bartering on the side as well. But for that all to be successful, we'll also need our own economy within our own community, and this is why this is the importance of what we were talking about in terms of securing our livelihoods, creating these businesses. We need people to create things that we can actually sell to each other as well as outside of the community.
Yeah, we need useful things.
Yeah,
this really is one of the big things that we need to crack this year. We need to have our own people making stuff for us, and it has to be useful. It can't just be, here's a pretty plate I painted. Even though that's lovely and there's plenty of value in that, we need useful things being made. We need stuff that we actually need and going out to buy.
Yeah, well, you could have ceramic plates that we eat off of. That would be something useful.
I'll agree with that. I meant like painted wall plates rather.
Yeah. Well, having beautiful things, beautiful artworks and sculptures that have no function other than the fact that they're beautiful. I think that's something we shouldn't discount. But yeah, it's not. I don't think it's the priority, especially when you can consider that we can make beautiful objects that are also functional, like for example, a wooden cooking spoon. But instead of it just being a wooden cooking spoon, it might have some sort of decoration, some sort of carving on it.
I was actually thinking doors. Like if anyone's a carpenter, being able to knock together a door is one thing, but then being able to carve into that door a pretty little design, that would be quite nice. Why the hell would somebody go down to B&Q to buy one of their mangy doors, which is exactly the same as, I don't know, greatdoors.com. Why would you go there when instead you could go to Bob the Door Maker, and Bob the Door Maker's got this beautiful door and he's carved a pretty serpent into it or whatever?
Well, this will be one of the unique selling points for businesses within our community of this sort. It'll be the fact that they're beautiful, they're objectively beautiful. Rather than just, a token gesture design that you buy from, some sort of corporation. They're also going to last a long time. They're not designed to fail the day after the guarantee runs out.
Hillman has said second-hand doors from timber recycling places are good, old, and cheap. I kind of said it as a laugh, but I actually might try and carve something into a door.
What, small?
I don't. No, like a normal, proper sized door, not a midget door.
Borrow one.
But even if it's just something like one of the doors that lead under the cupboard, that sort of size. Yeah, there's no reason that just needs to be a plain, boring plank of wood. all like cheat of MDF sort of stuff.
Well, what about a little storage box?
I have thought of this, especially if people want to start buying gold and silver. You're going to need something to keep it in, aren't you?
Like a chest with a lock on it.
A proper leather-bound chest.
I wasn't thinking leather, I was thinking more oak or some
Well, you can bind it in leather and all. I agree with Finkelstein. It's okay to make money, though. Better our people who have it than the others.
Well, we need it. It's unfortunately we need it as individuals, as a community. You know, how are we going to buy land? How are we going to buy cows and things like that if we don't have the resources?
Exactly. You need to be able to. We need to be able to survive, and the best way to do that is to have our people fund ourselves, but also have outsiders fund us as well.
Well, it's using this money, it's using the resources as a way to free ourselves from this whole regime, rather than getting enslaved by it, by taking on, I don't know, £1,000 a month Ferrari hire purchase or something like that, where you're going to be working to pay the thing off, that sort of thing. Changing the way we think about what we're buying.
I really, really, really want to get back to the old ways when each individual town had their own style of doing stuff.
Yeah.
I think that would be wonderful.
But also,
if we could get back so that, let's say Leicester, for example, they have their own ways of doing things like doors. I noticed, actually, completely off-topic subject, in Ohio, up in the door corners, or up in the corners of doors rather, they have these little square blocks. And in these little square blocks, they carve like a flower into it. It's little things like that. That seems, to me anyway, that seems unique to Ohio. I haven't seen that anywhere else.
Well, I had to go a step further and saying bring back unique local shops within not only villages, but towns, cities, etc. Like when you go so that when you go to, I don't know, Leeds, and then you go to Manchester, the shops are different. There's a different feel to the city instead of copy paste of the same 5 to 10 major shops.
Exactly. If you were to think of the shops that we have in this country, it's basically 15.
Yeah.
You got your major supermarkets, whoop-de-doo. You've then got like John Lewis. You've got W.H. Smith. You've got your Waterstones. Your coffee shops as well, so like Costa and Starbucks.
You got your Greggs.
Oh, your Greggs as well. How dare I forget that? You've also got the like Nando's.
Yep.
What else is there? Actually, let's just look at high street shops. What other sort of high street shops are there? Your Lakeland.
Boots.
There you go. That's your cooking shop. Boots, absolutely.
You got your Arcadia Group shops. Or at least you did, I think.
Are they still going?
I think they've gone bust.
I think they have, haven't they? But yeah, realistically, if you think about it, every high street is going to have the same sort of mixture of 15 shops. And then there's going to be a few local shops. Wouldn't it be lovely if we were to turn that around? So if there was only one or two of the major brands there, but every other shop was saying that was unique to that town. Think how many more people that would employ as well.
Well, you do that through not only creating the businesses, but having people support them over these massive ones.
Yeah.
Just
which I think people would gladly do.
Yeah. Start by just pulling your support away from the international companies and just supporting the ones that are only operate in this country.
I think one of the major issues we have is something that we can't control, unfortunately, is the bloody shop rents.
Yeah.
They're so high, and then you have rates on top of them. They're just crippling. And if you're someone like, let's say you're like a wood turner, and you make bowls and you make pens and things like that, there's no way on earth you could afford 20, 30,000 a year on shops.
Well, yes, it's probably not something we could do now.
No,
But
no,
I'm
no,
pretty
no.
sure that is that something that's set by the council. Do you know
What rates?
all of them? The rent,
Rate
not the business rates. I think they're
rates are set by local councils, but they're one of those things where they've all got a gentleman's agreement where they're going to be charging roughly the same, somewhere around about 50%. But in terms of rent, that's up to the landlord, whatever they want to charge.
well. If you get people in the local councils and you've got a power base outside of that to reinforce the position, just cut them. Just say, oh yeah, you're one of us. Cut the rate.
I think the state of them at the moment, I think it would just collapse the council instantly. Nasdaq says space at his local market, 75 quid a week.
Yeah, I actually agree with that comment that you.
See, maybe that's the sort of thing we need to do. Rather than shops, go real old school, go back to markets.
Yeah.
75 quid a week is a lot easier to stomach than
But
even like £1,000 a month.
There's a nice atmosphere about going to your local market, and you feel like there's that hustle and bustle. There's the people. What's it called when they're saying stuff and they're trying to sell it and
they're trying to big it up.
Yeah.
Like the strawberries, £2 a pound. I haven't heard that in years. You used to be at that Romford Market all the time. I went there a couple of years ago and it was just awful in comparison to what it was. It used to be lovely though. I enjoyed going there as a kid. It's the only place I've ever enjoyed going shopping. It was basically because all the stallholders were standing there trying to flog their goods. And there were a couple of them who were proper old boys and just used to stand there and shout out what they've got and the prices and all the rest of that. It's like lovely strawberries, blah, blah, blah.
But it's a way of getting people started with their businesses. A lot of these massive corporations, they started off with a man in a van, going to a local market and selling his wares. And from there, they build it up. Whereas now, by getting rid of these marketplaces, they've really hampered people's ability to actually get a step up on this self-employment ladder.
The useful thing is, and this is something that we should be bloody thankful for, they legally have to hold the chartered markets. There's nothing they can do. They have to hold the damn things. And they were complaining about this at the beginning of lockdown, and they probably still are complaining about it. So they are some places that we could quite easily get into and start selling. I don't think it'd be a bad idea if we did that ourselves, actually. Let's say like a whole bunch of us made some stuff up. That way it wouldn't all rely on one person. It would then rely on somebody who's honest, but if it's one of us, it's one of us. They're going to be honest.
Well, there's also craft fairs and antiques fairs, things of that nature. Farm fairs.
Don't know if Joe has anything to add. No, she doesn't. Fair enough. There is one other thing I'd like to bring up, and that is protecting savings. It's the idea that savings is purely financial. I think maybe we need a little bit more focus, as we always used to have, on savings being goods that we want. So, for example, things like beans. The famous kidney bean that I love so much. If having those sort of things as a stock, having a store of food and seeing that as currency as well, seeing that as is monetary value, as well as just food. Because at the end of the day, if you've got, let's say, like 100 quid tucked away, that's great. But you'd also probably rather have 100 quid's worth of dried food or canned food or something stored up.
Well,
what do you reckon?
Well, it all depends upon if somebody's prepared to take it for something, doesn't it?
Oh, I wasn't just thinking of taking it. I was thinking it as an investment. Because you know the value of a bean. That way, if in the future, for whatever reason, you don't have any money or it's getting tight, you've still got your stockpile of food. So you've invested that £100, and rather than investing it in something that's relatively useless, i.e. a precious metal, you've got something that is immensely practical and immensely useful. And when you need it, it's right there. You don't have to worry about converting it over into something.
I don't know about that, to be honest.
You just want to be a pirate, don't you? You want to sit there on your pile of gold like Smaug. Smaug, whatever his name was.
If you got gold, or if you got like a can of beans, it's going to run out at some point. It's going to go off.
I'll agree with that.
Whereas gold, it's not going to do that.
But I wasn't thinking in terms of a permanent investment. You have to think of these things like a portfolio. You want to have a certain amount of risk. That way your money grows. And at the same time, you want a certain amount of safety. That way it's always there. Equally, I would imagine you'll always want a certain amount of money tucked away that is relatively difficult to liquidate, or at least comparatively difficult. And then you're going to want another stash of money, which is quite easy to liquidate. Finkelstein says being hungry is also very motivating. I just like the idea of everyone having a stockpile of food. I'll be honest, I'm biased on that one.
Well, it's always a good idea to have some food put to one side, as we've all found out in the first lockdown.
Yes, it's been a bit difficult to get food. Feel us better. This is why we're fat. Anyway, was that all? Well, Andrew's abandoned me. Joe's abandoned me.
I haven't been abandoned.
Just me now, chat. But I did ask a question.
Oh, you sort of cut off.
I have no idea why. There's weird goings on with the internet tonight. Have you noticed the internet has been a bit odd still?
Not particularly.
Maybe it's just me. I said just before we went on the stream, I'm having a real hard time getting onto Gab. Also, talking of Gab, a completely accidental segue. If anyone wants to go and join us over there, by all means, we've now got our own group. We're going to start posting to it. I've been very lazy and slow on this. I haven't been posting anywhere near enough, but I will be getting onto that shortly. Here is the link. Twice, apparently. No, just once. There it is. Whatever.
Well, hasn't Gab got millions of new users? So it was going to be slow.
It does. It probably is due to that as well, but there's been a couple of other sites that have just, I don't know, they've not been right. I went to buy something earlier on, some wood, and the bank processor was having a problem with it. Like, the weird little Visa thing? Like, sometimes if you go and buy something, it has to go through this weird Visa check. And then it says, yes, okay, you're free to buy it. That thing struggled. That's never struggled for me before.
Well, that's interesting. So is anyone else?
So what was that?
Is anyone else having problems?
I'm interested to know, to be honest. See here, Speak. You may have been removed for inactivity. I'm not sure. If it is, nothing personal at all. Just click the link and you can go rejoin. Are you there? Yeah, I would imagine that's what's happened, to be honest. We just had to clear out. If somebody could post a link to that for me, please, that'd be very, very helpful.
So could you post the link to the article again for the financial threats?
Maybe post all the links.
Spam the chat with links.
What ones do we want to post? We definitely want they get all the links for this are in there, aren't they? Don't need to post any more ones.
What Moisha said is interesting.
I noticed the internet is solid as it was. More delay is not as solid. Apologies. I can read, I promise you. More delays, more problems. That's what I've noticed. I've noticed certain sites are very, very slow to load. And then they do, but they don't load properly. Like I was on a government website earlier on, and for whatever reason, it didn't load the JavaScript. Now, okay, I'll accept that. That happens sometimes on all websites, but it's just strange. I don't know whether this is a normal amount and we're just noticing it more. It certainly could be, but I have no evidence to suggest otherwise.
Well, something we're going to have to keep an eye on then. If it's not cyber COVID, not yet.
Yeah, well, give it time.
Well, I don't see how it can. I don't see why they do it now, though. Considering all the social media crackdowns, just I don't know.
It doesn't make sense to do it now.
No,
it doesn't make sense at all.
I think it's something that they do if the COVID narrative completely crashed, which I think hopefully that's gonna be a thing.
I would imagine they're going to wait a while and see what happens.
Yeah.
What games are people going on about on Discord? I would ask if you have any idea, but you go to bed earlier than me, for Christ's sake. These crazy maniacs are often like 4 a.m. talking.
Are you asking me a question there?
Yes.
Or is he reading chat?
See, at least we're honest about this.
Well, they have interesting things to say.
I do. I always enjoy looking at chat. See what they say.
What was the question?
I don't even remember, honestly.
Well, it can't have been that important then.
No, just general sort of chit-chat sort of question. I agree with Hillman. I think they would enjoy some power cuts. I think that will be something that happens. I've noticed that it's happening a lot in certain countries. Italy, for example, was whacked by an enormous one. Not that big of an issue because it was natural. It happened up in the mountains, apparently, and it's winter, it's snowing. You just take your frozen food, you pop it outside, it's fine. Age of Empires is a good game.
Yep.
Anyway, was that all? Was that everything?
That was all, yes.
That was a good shame. I enjoyed that. So, yeah. What are we doing now? Are we off to the pub for a bit?
Well, we're going to ask the chat if there's anything they'd like to bring up.
I think Arthur says there was a power outage in Pakistan. That was the one I was thinking of. I was thinking South Africa, and I thought, it's low-hanging fruit going after them. Yeah, does anyone in chat have any questions? I agree with that. I don't think the internet is going anywhere. They're just going to make it slightly inconvenient. They're just going to make it annoying. Yeah, there you go. Will has said thank you. I enjoyed this series. I think we're going to be able to look back at this at I would say the end of the year. It can't make probably the end of next month. We're going to look back at this at the end of next month and think, God damn, we were smart.
Well, I hope we look back at the end of the year and think, well, that were much ado about nothing.
Oh, I hope so as well.
Not with starving. We don't have no electricity, and then we skin.
It's going to be one of those bittersweet things, sitting back and thinking, we were right.
Yeah, I'm down to my last can of corned beef and a single sovereign.
There's nothing wrong with corned beef. You can't go wrong with it. You just slice it up. You have to shake it a bit to get it out of the tin. I agree with Hillman, but we're happy. At least I am. My mood has certainly improved. These streams have become therapeutic for me as well.
Well, it's pointless focusing on all the negatives that are happening.
Oh, absolutely. There's just too much.
Well, whether it's designed to demoralize you or not, that's the effect. We might as well focus on what we actually can do, and there's quite a lot we can do, for ourselves, and then in terms of a community. Let's create the sort of world we actually want to live in. So
it's very easy to get very downbeat.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, for the last couple of days, I've not been my normal chirpy self because I've been kind of frustrated that I'm not getting anywhere. We're unable to do the things that we want to do, and we just need to focus on much smaller things. I think early on today, I managed to buy some wood. Once I get back to carving, I'm going to start feeling much, much, much better again.
Yeah, actually creating things.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it's something small and little, something that isn't really going to impact anybody, it's useful. Being able to do something as opposed to feeling helpless all the time. See, Timmy wants to go camping. Oh, we're going to the moon shortly, Biff. I didn't see your comment. Sorry about that. We're going there as soon as we can. Bertie can't wait for the pipe. Good old CFAX. Anyway, I believe that is everything. Chat doesn't have any questions, so that's always a good sign. It means we explained things well. Or we bored them to sleep and they weren't paying attention. So yeah, if that is everything, do you have any idea what your next series will be on?
Oh,
or are you going to wait until you can crack out a couple more income things?
I think the priority is the overviews.
I would agree.
You need to get them going. As I said,
yeah, I agree.
I'm going to be focusing on probably the meat ones, the chicken and the rabbit ones first, then do the gardening. Then we'll see. I might break it up with some crafts of some description. But
I will definitely be doing a craft as well soon. I'm not sure what on, but I'll work it out.
What about metal casting? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Again, I think Birdie might want to do that. He's quite into that one.
It does look good.
It really does. Yeah, anything to do with metal, I'm pretty much there. Like casting, music, lathe work, anything. I enjoy it a great deal. Never done anything, unfortunately. But I'll get around to that eventually.
Yeah. Well, I'd just like to reiterate that everything I've put on here, everything on this stream, it's just ideas. So make sure that if there's anything catches your fancy, please do your research on it. I'm sure I don't need to tell you all this, but I don't want to be getting legal letters.
Yeah, people can utilize common sense. Invest at your own risk.
Yeah.
Utilize common sense. Buy some beans. Prove Andrew wrong. Create an off-grid bean market.
Bean empire.
Be the kidney beans versus the butter beans, which is obviously the worst form of bean. Just big and tasteless and pointless. Anyway, that was all. We're now on the bean market conversation. That means the stream is now done. So we will see you all on Discord if you're going to turn up, and if not, we will see you all tomorrow. Joe and I will be back as per usual from our normal time, and we will be talking about stuff. Got to pick it up somehow. But yes, thank you for joining us. See you tomorrow.
Goodbye.